Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you.
"20 years after a mutated cordyceps fungus dismantled human civilization, a smuggler named Joel is given a job: move a teenage girl named Ellie across what's left of the United States. She's immune. She might be the last chance at a cure." That's the premise. It tells you almost nothing about what the game actually is. The Last of Us, released by Naughty Dog in 2013, works on you slowly. The world is ruined in the way that feels true, not in the dramatic sense of craters and fire, but in the quiet sense of buildings returning to forest, of cities gone soft and green at the edges. The infected are horrifying, but most of the time it's other survivors you have to worry about. The scarcity is real. Every bullet counted, every piece of cloth and alcohol weighed against the next encounter. The game makes you feel desperate before it makes you feel anything else. And then underneath all of that is a relationship that earns what it eventually asks of you. Joel and Ellie don't bond through dialogue. They bond through shared distance, through small moments pressed between survival, through the particular closeness that comes from being the only two people in a room who aren't trying to kill each other. By the end, you understand exactly why Joel does what he does. The game never tells you whether he was right.
We could just backtrack and...
Hey, what the fuck, man? Let's go!
Oh, shit. Turn us around.
Oh my God.
Tommy! Tommy! Holy shit!
Start with the first 5 minutes. Joel loses his daughter Sarah in the opening night of the outbreak, shot by a soldier in the confusion, held in Joel's arms as he kneels in the road. The game then skips forward 20 years and shows you what that loss made him into: cold, functional, sealed. He lives in a quarantine zone, does what he has to, trusts no one, asks nothing. His survival is total and affectless. The game's first act is essentially an argument that grief, left unprocessed and unanswered, becomes a kind of armor, and that armor has a cost. If you want to understand something else about that, read Moz.
So, telephone to me. You should visit here more often. Don't be such a stranger. Sure. You bet. So long. Murderer.
Art Spiegelman's Moss is, on its surface, about his father Wlodek, a Polish Jew who survived Auschwitz, and the memoir Spiegelman spent years drawing from a series of taped interviews. But it's equally about the relationship between the two men and what survival did to it. Wlodek emerged from the Holocaust intact in body and shattered in almost every other way. Obsessive, hoarding, prone to fits of guilt-laden manipulation, incapable of comfort. The camps made him a survivor above all else, and everything that didn't serve survival got stripped away or buried. His son grew up in the wreckage of a man reshaped by catastrophe. What Joel and Wlodek share isn't just loss, it's what loss did to their capacity for connection. Both men love with enormous force and terrible difficulty. Both are defined by something that happened before the story starts, something the people closest to them can't fully reach. In Moss, Spiegelman makes this structural. The frame narrative, set in the present, keeps interrupting Wlodek's Holocaust story, because the point isn't just what happened, it's what it left behind. The damage is the subject. There's also something about the medium worth noting. A story this heavy shouldn't work as comics, and Spiegelman's minimalist ink lines shouldn't be able to carry what they carry. But they do. The form does something the prose version couldn't. It keeps you at a slight remove that lets you look directly at something almost too painful to approach head-on. It works the same way the game does. The mechanics of survival putting just enough distance between you and the grief that you can let it in. One of the first things you notice in The Last of Us is how beautiful it is. Not despite the apocalypse, but because of it. Overgrown highways, water flooding through the lower floors of buildings, light cutting through rooftops that have half collapsed into green. The world is dying by human measure and thriving by every other measure. The cordyceps didn't just destroy civilization, it gave the planet room to breathe. That's not incidental. The game is constructed around this tension. The infection is monstrous, and the world it made is stunning. Nausicaä of the Valley of the Wind lives in exactly that same contradiction. 1,000 years after an apocalyptic war known as the 7 Days of Fire, the world Hayao Miyazaki builds in Nausicaä is covered by the Sea of Decay, a vast toxic jungle of spore-emitting mushroom forests and colossal mutant insects. Human settlements crouch at its edges and fight for the scraps of land it hasn't yet reclaimed. It looks, from the outside, like catastrophe, like something to be eliminated. Armies mobilize to burn it back. Empires treat its existence as an affront. What Nausicaä discovers, slowly, through curiosity and care, in the face of those who want answers through destruction, is that the jungle is the planet's immune response. It's pulling the toxins humans left behind into itself, converting them, cleaning what we broke. The monsters protecting it aren't monsters. The catastrophe is a correction. The parallels to the cordyceps ecosystem are exact, a biological system that looks like annihilation from the outside and might, from another angle, be something else entirely. What makes both works hold is that they refuse to resolve the tension cheaply. Miyazaki doesn't tell you nature is good and humans are bad. The jungle is genuinely deadly. People genuinely suffer. The horror is real. But the horror and the beauty are made of the same thing. And the film asks you to hold both without collapsing into either. You watch Nausicaä move through the Sea of Decay. Blue light, strange calm, spores drifting, and you feel exactly what you feel looking at the flooded hotel basement in Pittsburgh, at the giraffe sequence in Salt Lake City. The world ended. Something else began. The last hour of The Last of Us is one of the most debated sequences in gaming. Joel reaches the Firefly's hospital, discovers that saving Ellie requires killing her, and makes his choice. He kills his way out. He lies to her about it afterward. Neil Druckmann has since confirmed the cure would have worked. But the game never does. What it is in fact structurally designed to prevent is tell you what the right answer was. Joel's decision is an act of love and an act of violence simultaneously. If you want another work that lives entirely inside that unresolved space, Never Let Me Go is the bar.
My donors have always tended to do much better than expected. Their recovery times have been impressive, and hardly any of them have been classified as agitated, even before fourth donation.
Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go is told from the inside by Kathy, one of a generation of clones raised in an English boarding school to donate their organs. The reveal comes gradually. Ishiguro withholds the full picture the way the Guardians do, which is to say through careful management of what the children are allowed to understand. By the time you understand what completion means, you've already built a relationship with these people who will complete. You are implicated in what they've been made for. What's devastating isn't the system, it's the acceptance. Kathy, Tommy, and Ruth don't revolt, they don't escape. They understand, somewhere beneath the level they'll name directly, what their lives are for. And they live them anyway, with friendship and jealousy and love and petty cruelty, the full texture of human existence inside a structure that has decided they are a resource. Ishiguro told interviewers that the sci-fi premise was never really the point. He was writing about the feeling that our time together is never enough, that the people we love will always be taken before we're done.
The echo with The Last of Us is the ethics of deciding for someone else. The Fireflies decided for Ellie. Ellie's guardians at Hailsham decide for the clones. In both cases, the deciding is done with genuine conviction that it serves a greater good. And in both cases, the person whose life is at stake is never quite given the question to answer themselves. Never Let Me Go is what it looks like when no one makes the intervention Joel makes. It is the version of that ending where no one comes. The cordyceps design in The Last of Us is specific in a way that matters. Neil Druckmann was inspired by a BBC documentary clip of the real Ophiocordyceps fungus, the one that hijacks ant motor systems, compels them to climb, and then blooms through their bodies from the inside. The game transposed this into human biology and asked, what does it look like when the thing that takes you over isn't supernatural? When it's just biology, scaled up, doing what biology does. That specificity, the grounded, scientifically rooted nature of the horror is exactly what the girl with all the gifts shares.
Then, after a while, usually a month or two, a new face in the classroom, a new boy or girl, who hadn't even learned to talk yet. But they got it fast.
M.R. Carey's novel takes the Ophiocordyceps premise and runs it through a different lens. 20 years after a fungal outbreak reduces most of humanity to the hungries, blind, frantic, flesh-consuming, a generation of second-generation children have emerged, partially immune. They're infected, but they think, they speak, they feel. The military keeps them in cells and straps them into wheelchairs because the hunger is still in there. One of those children is Melanie, brilliant and curious and feverishly devoted to her teacher, Miss Justineau. Dr. Caldwell wants to dissect her. The question the book turns on is the same one that turns in the final act of The Last of Us. What gives anyone the right to take this life for the benefit of others?
The fungal biology in Carey's book is as rigorously imagined as in the game. He pulls from the same real science, the same spore mechanics, the same horrifying logic of a parasite that doesn't kill but redirects. But Carey's variation adds something TLOU doesn't fully explore: what it feels like from the inside. Melanie knows what she is. She can feel the hunger pressing against her control. The horror is not only what the fungus does to people, it's what it's like to be the person the fungus is doing it to, and to love someone anyway, and to understand that you are what they're afraid of. The ethical structure is a mirror image. Where Joel refuses to let the cure happen, Melanie's resolution is to force it, on her own terms, at a cost that implicates everyone. Neither ending lets you feel clean. That's the point. The Last of Us is a game about what a relationship sounds like in the spaces between encounters. Joel and Ellie's dynamic is built in the car interiors and the empty corridors, in the pun book read aloud, and the silences that say more than the dialogue does. The road doesn't just move them across a ruined America. It's the medium through which two people, slowly and with enormous resistance, let each other in. Nothing works that same mechanism quite like the road.
Boy shook his head. "Oh, Papa," he said. He turned and looked again. What the boy had seen was a charred human infant, headless and gutted and blackening on the spit.
Cormac McCarthy published The Road 7 years before The Last of Us shipped, and you can see the game's DNA in it. An unnamed father and his young son move south through a dead America, gray, ash-smothered, stripped of almost everything. They have a cart, a gun with 2 bullets, and each other. The son was born into this world and has no memory of another. The father remembers everything and wishes he could forget. Between them, a language of care so stripped down it sometimes sounds like instruction and sometimes sounds like prayer. Are we still the good guys, Papa? Yes, we are.
McCarthy is not interested in the apocalypse as spectacle. The cause of the end is never named, never relevant. What he's tracking is smaller and more important. How a person stays human when humanness has no external reinforcement. The father's protection of his son is absolute, and as the book progresses, increasingly frightening in its totality. An obsessiveness that the reader and the father both sense has crossed somewhere is no longer entirely sane. The son becomes in the father's interior logic not just a child, but the entire justification for continuing to exist. You are the good guy. You have to be. Because if you're not, there's nothing.
That's exactly Joel's architecture. The game uses Ellie as the same structural weight the son carries in McCarthy's novel. The thing that makes keeping going mean something. The thing that justifies the costs. The Road shows you how that love can be absolute and true, and also a form of damage. How it can save and enclose simultaneously. McCarthy's prose is about as stripped as language gets. Short, declarative, almost no punctuation. And it moves like the game moves. Quiet stretches, sudden brutality, quiet again. The road doesn't end. It just continues. The Last of Us gives you 5 of something it never names outright. 5 reasons a man keeps moving through a dead world. 5 angles on what it costs to survive something. The categories are the facets. These are where they lead.